Tonight
on CTV.
An important package has gone missing.
The vape ban continues to be controversial. We'll give you the latest updates tonight.
And you'll flip out over the circus that came to CSU.
All this and more tonight on CTV.
A Fort Collins resident believes his father's ashes were stolen right off his porch. And your beer may have a weed-killing chemical in it. I'm Matt Leisman.
And I'm Bella Roberts. Matt, can you tell us more about these stolen ashes?
Sure thing, Bella. A Fort Collins resident expected a package. He became statewide news when he never received it. Austin Barker lost his father to bladder cancer, but he lost his ashes to a porch pirate. Barker lives on South Howes Street, a block north of Colorado State University's campus. He said the 2-by-1 foot package was stolen from the front porch of his duplex in late January.
If you've stolen from another person, just realize that it's harmful and it hurts more than you would ever think. And stealing a laptop off a porch can hurt just as bad as stealing someone's ashes. Just be mindful of what you're doing to other people.
CTV reporter Janae Hancock is investigating the story. Be sure to tune into Thursday's show to see what more she finds out.
Catholic churches in Colorado are opening up their records to an independent party as part of a national investigation into the sexual abuse of minors by priests. The investigation began after a grand jury in Pennsylvania found over 300 priests in the state had sexually abused minors. The investigation, led by former Colorado U.S. Attorney Bob Troyer, will compile a public list of priests with allegations of abuse, including when and where the incidents allegedly occurred. The review will look at records going back to 1950 in order to make sure all known abusers are removed from the church.
Vapes, cigarettes, and all other tobacco and nicotine products are banned from campus after an executive order by the governor last November. But the university has been struggling to create a policy enforcing the ban. Last week, I spoke with Delray Chiaravola, CSU's Public Safety and Risk Communication Officer, to find out more.
According to a Gallup poll, around 20% of 18 to 29-year-olds use vapes, including many CSU students. The status of these products has been in limbo on campus, where former Governor Hickenlooper's executive order has officially banned the products. However, so far, the university has been relying on self-enforcement to keep the clouds away.
So everyone on campus is responsible for helping us adhere to this executive order and not using tobacco products or vapes on campus. So we're asking everyone to take responsibility in enforcing the executive order.
As you may have noticed, this has not been very effective, and vape clouds are still a common sight on campus. Ethan Burschek, a senator for the College of Liberal Arts at ASCSU, proposed a resolution that was passed last week, formally opposing the ban. Burschek said a blanket ban is not an effective way to curb nicotine addictions and usage on campus.
Now you have the instance where the rule is unfollowable, so people ignore all restrictions. And now, where before you might have reduced the most harmful areas of smoking, now you have no control over that, or you have lessened control over that because now people are smoking everywhere.
Currently, students and faculty are supposed to report violations to tobaccofree.colostate.edu, and the Office of Environmental Health will follow up. The office's actions, however, will depend on the number of violations, and there is no established policy for how the office will respond.
We're discussing ways to elevate that, potentially through housing, for example, if a student lives on campus, through other means such as student conduct.
Many questions surrounding the enforcement and future of the ban remain unanswered. Chiaravola says this is because the governor's executive order caught the university by surprise. However, they still support reducing the use of nicotine products on campus and, by extension, the ban.
We've been somewhat reactive because it wasn't something that the university led, but at the same time, we are supportive of it. So for the health of our university, this is really a positive thing.
For now, the best course of action is to obey the executive order and keep the clouds off campus.
Chiaravola and the Public Information Office have not issued a statement regarding ASCSU's resolution. To learn more about the ban, report violations, or learn more about quitting tobacco, you can visit tobaccofree.colostate.edu.
Scandal, Morality, and Corporate America. The College of Business's newest event series began with a focus on ethics in business last Thursday. An email from Director of Marketing and Communications, Zeel Patel, told the Collegian that the Dean's Distinguished Leadership Series is meant to offer students and the community the opportunity to engage with alumni and other leaders who are making significant positive impacts on business. Ray Boucher, a trial attorney and CSU alumnus, led the first talk of the series with a presentation urging students to follow their moral compass in preparation for corporate America's tough decisions.
Ever been so angry you broke into a business and caused more than $100,000 in damage? I know I have. The Coloradoan reported this morning that 36-year-old Sarah Cathro admitted to doing just that. Police records say Cathro used rocks to break the windows at Farnsworth Group, an engineering consultant firm located in Fort Collins. According to arrest documents, once she was inside, Cathro smashed electronics, computers, and other pricey items. She also sprayed a fire extinguisher and soda all over the office space. Police said that she then lit a box of paperwork on fire and stole the keys to a company car, which she drove until she was arrested the following day.
Some Colorado beer brands were found to contain small amounts of a weed-killing chemical, the Denver Post reported today. The Public Interest Group Research Group, a nonprofit consumer protection group, published a study on its website Monday that found that glyphosate, an agricultural chemical that is the active ingredient in the off-the-shelf weed killer Roundup, can be found in beers and wines sold in the U.S., including Colorado brands like Coors Light, Budweiser, and New Belgium's Fat Tire. The research group admits that the levels of chemicals found don't exceed federal safety standards, but warns that even small amounts of glyphosate have proven to be cancerous.
The U.S. Forest Service and City of Glenwood Springs finalized a deal to run a shuttle service to Hanging Lake. The shuttle and other changes come to combat the spot's popularity. Visitors will now need to make reservations online or at the Welcome Center to visit the site within the White River National Forest. The online reservation system goes live April 1st. Reservations will cost $12 per person during peak season from May to November. The lake can only have 615 visitors per day. Parking is no longer allowed at the trailhead to Hanging Lake.
Have you ever wondered where the leftover food at campus events goes after the event is finished? I spent the weekend finding your answer. Rams Against Hunger is an emergency food relief for CSU students experiencing food insecurity.
So my colleague and I, Nolan, we work with our catering staff just to execute all of the catering events, and then at the end of each event, we'll decide whether or not there's enough food to send a text out for the Rams food recovery, have everybody come, and then we make sure to monitor all of the food safety aspects, and then watching to see everyone that comes.
Approximately 10% of CSU students experience food insecurity, according to a survey conducted in 2013.
As a catering student manager, Lindsay and her colleagues' role is to guide the process of these events.
But yeah, we just make sure we're the ones that bring everyone to the event, send out the notification, and then clean everything up. People who want to sign up for the service will sign up on that same exact website, and then the service just sends out mass texts, just like all of the other security text message features that we have on campus.
They currently have 3 programs on campus. The Meal Swipe program, which students can apply for depending on financial eligibility. The Mobile Food Pantry, with access given to students and faculty with CSU IDs. This includes fruits, vegetables, dairy, and baked goods. And Pocket Pantries, which are small food pantries across campus that contain food for on the go that is given to students without discrimination. Here's some input from students around campus.
I would be interested in, for sure giving anything that, I'm not using, meal swipes.
I mean, obviously everyone has to eat, and if you don't, it's a big deal on campus, I'm guessing, is meals, and I feel like that's a good idea. To leftover food, might as well use it.
Yeah, that takes a lot of relief in one person so they can keep on with their lives, with their assignments and everything. So
we would love to let people know that we have tons and tons and tons of food left over at the end of many events. We hate throwing it away. We don't even like composting it because we wish people could actually eat the food, especially those on campus.
This is Isabella Roberts reporting with CTV.
For more information on how you or someone you know experiencing food insecurity can apply for the text messaging service, you can visit ramfoodrecovery.colostate.edu.
Objects in motion stay in motion, but these kids already know that. Saturday marked the 28th annual Little Shop of Physics open house, with upwards of 300 hands-on, kids-friendly science experiments taking over most of the third floor of the Laurie Student Center. When the open house began in the 1990s, it was an intermission to the Physics Bowl. The program's director, Brian Jones, saw a divide between how K-12 students were being taught science and how they wanted to learn it. From toddlers playing with the rainbow effect a magnet has on an old TV set, to kids bouncing durable bubbles, to adults asking volunteers how experiments work, patrons at the open house engaged in the kind of science education program the program promotes.
So Matt, you said even adults get involved?
Yeah, actually, my roommate was a volunteer at the Little Shop of Physics. He was working with a lot of the bugs because he's really into entomology. And he was telling me that an adult actually shoved many small children out of the way just to get a close-up look at this bug. So you could say some of the adults were getting a little too involved.
Okay. That's all we have for you tonight, but don't go anywhere because next we have weather, and we all know that's been anything but predictable lately.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Good evening, and I'm Hannah Willis, your Tuesday night weather anchor. The current temperature outside is 40 degrees, and we've got mostly clear skies with a little bit of cloud cover. The wind is not blowing too hard. It's blowing at 5 miles per hour south-southwest, and the sunset was earlier this afternoon at 5:47 p.m. A look back on the day shows that the skies were pretty cloudy, and they cleared up more towards noon. The wind was not too bothersome today and only showed a slight wind, and the grass and vegetation around campus still remained relatively dead. Frost lined the trees outside, and the lagoon was relatively frozen. Going into tonight's lows, we see things warm up around the I-25 corridor, with Fort Collins reaching 23 degrees and Denver reaching 27. Things are at a low at Gunnison at 4 degrees, and on the east side of the state, we've got Lyman at 17 and Burling at 13 degrees. Going into tomorrow's highs, things warm up even still, with Fort Collins reaching 45 degrees, Denver 45 as well, Colorado Springs at 50, and Pueblo a high of 52. Over in this corner, we see Telluride at 33 and Alamosa at 41. Going into tomorrow's forecast, we see a high of 45 degrees and a low of 26. It will still be slightly cloudy outside, but who knows what will really happen. And the wind will be blowing a little bit higher at 7 miles per hour southeast, and the sunset will be at 5:49 in the afternoon. Looking ahead in the week, things are supposed to remain pretty warm and sunny. Those clouds on Thursday surely will not be missed. And going into the weekend, things are supposed to cool down quite a bit, with a high of 29 and a low of 10. We're expecting some slight snow showers with accumulations less than 1 inch. Thanks for tuning into the weather. Up next is Jason and Jess with some news for you on the women's basketball team.
You've got pre-diabetes, but with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. big time.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
What's up, Ram fans, and welcome back from the break and to the JT Double Take. Today we have Jason Ortiz filling for Tara, so thanks, Jason, for joining me today.
Of course. Absolutely, Jessica. I honestly feel like we should call this the Double J Double Take. All right. Anyways, the CSU women's basketball team had a rough trip up to Wyoming. So, Jessica, why don't you break that down for us?
The Colorado State women's basketball team added their 5th straight loss on Saturday as the team headed to Laramie, Wyoming to take on the Wyoming Cowgirls for the 2nd time this season. Although it was a new game, the results were nearly the same. The Cowgirls started off on an 8-0 run, but the Rams never let up in the first half. It was the second half where CSU really struggled. The women only tallied 1 point in the first 9 minutes after halftime. Sophomore center Leah Davis carried the Rams with a career-high 21 points and 6 rebounds. But the team as a whole was only shooting 28.3% from the field. The Cowgirls were led by junior forward Bailey Cotton, who scored 17 total points and added to the Cowgirls' field goal percentage of 42%, almost shooting double the percentage of the Rams. Ultimately, the Rams could not find ways to score throughout the rest of the game, resulting in a 56-32 loss for the Rams. CSU is now 2-12 in conference play and 8-17 on the season, while Wyoming advances to their 9th straight win.
Despite the CSU women's basketball team's loss this past weekend, the Colorado State softball team headed west to the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic in California. The Rams started off hot on day 1 as they knocked off Bethune-Cookman 7-0 behind the arm of Bridget Hutton, and then took down the University of Utah 6-1, where Ashley Ruiz started off the game with a 3-run home run and never looked back. On day 2, the Rams started off the day facing then-ranked number 16 Oklahoma State. CSU got the scoring going early in the first inning when Karina Gamboa singled into center field, scoring Danny Klein. The defense was on fire behind the arm of Jessica Jarecki, who only gave up 6 hits and struck out 7 in her complete game finish. The only blemish that Jarecki had was a solo home run in the top of the 6th when Samantha Show homered to center field, tying the game at 1. The Rams bounced back in the bottom of the 6th when Haley Donaldson singled into left, scoring Danny Klein again. CSU finished off the upset, blanking the Cowgirls in the 7th and winning the game 2-1. Riding high off that win, they looked to take it into their next game against Cal Poly. The Rams unfortunately fell to 2-1 and headed into day 3 against their biggest opponent waiting ahead. The final game of the weekend was against number 2 ranked UCLA. Bridget Hutton took the mound against true freshman Megan Fermo, and Fermo did not disappoint. She went 7 innings and allowed 0 runs on 0 hits, walked none, and struck out 9 Rams while doing so. The UCLA had 2 defensive errors during the game, or else Fermo would have had thrown her first collegiate perfect game. The Rams held the Bruins to only 1 unearned run through 4 innings before they put up 2 more runs in the 5th inning on a couple more errors. The game went final at 3-0, and the Rams finished the weekend 3-2 and looked to keep the good start rolling into Part 1 of the Colorado Classic, where they will play 6 games starting Thursday at 1 in the afternoon.
With another weekend in the books for the softball team, the CSU football team kicked off their 7th practice of the spring season today. The team was able to head outside and run some drills as they are preparing for their spring game, which will take place in 2 weeks. And as the Rams are looking for new veteran leaders to carry the team, former CSU running back Izzy Matthews made an appearance at the practice today. The biggest question of this offseason is, who will fill the role as the next outstanding wide receiver? Last year's performance from Preston Williams and Olabisi Johnson added to another year in successful wide receivers for CSU. Without Alvis Whitted, the former wide receivers coach, the success of CSU's receivers is up to question. Despite being on the look for a new wide receivers coach, today junior wide receiver Warren Jackson was a good target as he was making pretty good catches today during practice. We will have to see how the team develops for the rest of this offseason.
This past weekend, the women's tennis team was in Lincoln, Nebraska for a dual match weekend. They started off the weekend against the University of Nebraska. Doubles teams for CSU didn't fare too well against the Huskers as they all fell in their matches. However, singles were a different story, Emily Luschwager dropped her first set 6-3, but rallied in the second set to win 6-5, forcing a third set, where she ended up winning 10-5. The final winner for the Rams came in at the number 4 singles, Nancy Ghanem. Dropped set 1 6-4, but came back in the second set to win 6-1, forcing another third set for CSU. Ghanem ended up winning that set 10-8. CSU fell to Nebraska 3-4. And on day 2, CSU swept the board facing North Dakota. The Rams all came to play that day and ended up winning 7-0. Head coach Jared Camarada was impressed with his team's play. After the match, he added, "We did a good job of taking care of business. We kept our energy the whole match. Now it's time for us to get some rest and prepare for our home opener against Drake next weekend."
All right, Jason, it's time for this week's Disrupted Picks. So Tara and I typically send out a tweet for ideas on what people want to hear us talk about. But Jason, it sounds like you got some submissions today. So
yeah.
We got them in the hat. So if you want to do that.
You know what I'm saying?
See what we got here today.
All right, so this comes from Stan_Jake. Says, where do you think Bryce Harper will end up? That's actually a really good question.
That is a good question. So with spring ball already starting up, it sounds like he's going to have his decision made by the end of the week.
Yeah.
And at this point, it really sounds like it's still very up in the air between the Dodgers, the Phillies, and I've heard a little bit about the Giants here and there. I'm not sure if that's legitimate or not. So Jason, what do you think?
So I think it's really going to happen now because of the Nolan Arenado trade, or not trade, extension.
Yeah.
So you had the Manny Machado $300 million contract. Now you got the Arenado contract where he's basically getting $26 million a year, highest paid position player. So that means Bryce Harper is going to get his money. And I think, personally, I think he'll end up with the Dodgers because they're a team they want to win right now, and they have the pieces to do it. And he's just another piece that'll get him there.
Yeah. So the Phillies' most recent offer, and their final offer, I believe, is a $300 million offer. These are some huge contracts going on here. It's hard for me to say that he won't take that, but I can't help but agree with you. I think LA is a very good place to be for him. I think he would love being there for a lot of reasons. But overall, I think if he wants to have a successful rest of his baseball career, he's still very young, but if he wants to have success and be with a successful team, I think the Dodgers is the right place to be. I could just get that feeling that he doesn't really want to be with the Phillies.
Yeah, I feel like he kind of has that win now mentality, and that's what the Dodgers are about. They've been to the last 2 World Series. They're missing those few key pieces. He's one of them, and if you go to the Phillies, you're probably going to be rebuilding for 3 or 4 years before you get those pieces that'll get you to the World Series. They haven't made the playoffs in like 4 or 5 years, so
yeah, absolutely.
The Dodgers have made the playoffs the last 7 years, so
yeah.
I think that might be a good place for him to land.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're waiting for the Dodgers to make an official offer. A lot of people are expecting it might be a little bit less than the Phillies, $300 million. Yeah. So an interesting question for you to add to that is, how much of a pay cut do you think he would take when you're already making that much money, $300 million? Yeah. If they were to offer him $40 million less, $50 million less, is that worth it, do you think?
Yeah. So I think personally that these guys are making so much money as it is, whether it be from their contracts, but they're also making endorsement like stuff.
Yep.
So if he takes a pay cut a little bit, I feel like the Dodgers would offer him probably about $250 million. They wouldn't give him the 10 years that he wants because they're not an organization that usually wants to give long-term contracts. But I think that if you take a little bit less, you'll prefer winning. Yeah.
So about $250 million contracts. But Jason's thinking, I have to agree. I think that could be pretty close. But Jason, thank you so much for joining me on today's show. But Ram fans, that is all we have for you for this week. To stay tuned on sports throughout the week, you can head to thecollegian.com or follow us on Twitter at sports_CTV. But don't go anywhere because up next is Jason Rios because he has all your updates from the Oscars. Stay tuned.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back from the break. I am not Jason, I am Justin Rios, here to give you the latest and greatest in entertainment news. Let's get started. A CSU alum named America's Sexiest Veterinarian gets his own Animal Planet show is something you don't hear every day. As Lauren covered on Thursday, Dr. Evan Anton, a 2013 graduate of CSU's College of Veterinary Medicine, is slated to star in his very own show called Evan Goes Wild, premiering at 7 in the evening on Sundays on Animal Planet. The show follows Anton as he travels the world meeting and treating animals in exotic locales. After finding internet fame in 2016, posting cute pictures of animals he treated on Instagram, BuzzFeed published an article titled, "People are going nuts over this ridiculously hot veterinarian. Sorry, girls and gays, but this sexy veterinarian is taken." You can catch this CSU alum swimming with whales and socializing crocodiles on Animal Planet. Once again, if you've been living under a rock, you missed award season, but don't sweat it. I've got you covered. The 91st Academy Awards went down this past weekend, representing big steps forward for diversity, with a few steps back, still in favor of #OscarsSoWhite. Big names like Regina King, Mahershala Ali, and my all-time fave, Rami Malek, took home the Golden Statuette for acting. While the Oscars has made strides towards ethnic and social change, not everyone was satisfied with Green Book winning Best Picture. A New York Times review cited the movie favors a white man's perspective and approach to American racism. One of these days, I'd like a film to discuss serious social issues from a person of color's perspective and not through a white man's lens. If you've never been to a live concert, then chances are Old Town Fort Collins may have the venue for you. The Aggie Theater on College Avenue is running under new management. The Mishawaka Amphitheater and Boulder's Z2 Entertainment have partnered to take over the Fort Collins staple under a new name, Fort Collins Entertainment. The new owners plan to update security for the historic music venue by improving fire safety, lighting, and updating the band room for booked artists. And new management also hopes to diversify and strengthen the local music scene going forward. Juggling, diving through hula hoops, and walking on stilts are some things not a lot of people can actually say they do. Luckily, if you prefer standing on ground more than aerial acrobatics, CSU brought the circus to us.
Spectators gathered for the first Cirque du CSU, a Cirque du Soleil-inspired variety show hosted by Ram Events in the Laurie Student Center this past weekend. The Phantom Circus, a Denver-based troupe, made their Fort Collins debut with flips and tricks, juggling, and some romance sprinkled within the performances.
School to show us things that we don't really get to see on a regular basis because we're either doing school, homework, eating, sleeping, doesn't matter, but they bring us outside perspectives of the world.
In the sea of sporting events, Ram Events hopes to bring art and theater to the center stage at CSU.
We have Cirque du Soleil-inspired events. They usually take place in Denver and never really come up to Northern Colorado. So I think it was good, and also we kind of reached a different group of students because we don't really usually bring a lot of performing arts events to CSU.
While the performances received thunderous applause from the audience, they also highlighted our differences and similarities as human beings coexisting in one world.
The people that were part of the performance are probably people interested in the library or at the coffee shop or maybe one of your TAs in class, but like to think that they have like this secret that they just like let out to the world is like really amazing.
Ringmaster Stephen Millen prefaced the show by saying the Phantom Circus are people who believe that art can, in fact, save the world.
I had a severe headache after watching the Phantom Circus jump and bend in every direction imaginable. I'm just going to stay behind this desk and not try to so high in the sky. Although juggling could be a new calling. Well, that's all, folks. Thank you for joining us for CTV's Tuesday news, weather, sports, and entertainment show. Tune in to Humans of CSU tomorrow evening, same time, same channel, with the people you know. Stay warm and good night.